Hi, Becky. Appreciate you meeting back with me today and going over that checklist that I gave you before the meeting. It kind of went as I was expecting you to check through those boxes. You know, last last meeting we went over that full psychological, and I know we had discussed a little bit about a potential post-traumatic stress disorder diagnosis.
Hmm.
We're doing that for your new job. And so I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that, see see how things are going, and plus to kind of verify what we were initially talking about that PTSD diagnosis, and kind of what that means and what that means for our potential follow-up meeting. So I'm going to do a assessment with you that is called the uh, well, I know the acronym. It's called CAPS 5, but it's the full name is the Clinician Administered Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Scale for the DSM-5. That's the
Okay.
full name, but we're going to shorthand it and go with the CAPS 5. Um, so with this assignment, it isn't exactly something that I can paraphrase. So I will actually be reading prompts from the assignment, or the assessment rather, and just like we did before, just respond as open and as however you feel is best. And then we will go through several different prompts, and then we will wrap up, and at next session we'll have the scores and the results, and we'll discuss those at that point. How's that sound?
That's fine with me. I mean, you know that I think I don't need to be here. So if we just waste time and I meet quota by having to answer questions, I think it's fine.
Okay. Well, and I respect how you feel about it. We have to go through for all of our sakes. So um like I said, I will read to you, and you just answer as open and honest as you see fit. So um just to start off, um and this is the first prompt. I'm going to ask you about several or about stressful experiences questionnaire that you filled out previously. First, I'll ask you to tell me a little bit about the event you said was the worst for you. Then I'll ask you how the event may have affected you over the past month. In general, I don't need a lot of information, just enough so I can understand any problems you may have had. Please let me know if you find yourself becoming upset as we go through the questions, so we can slow down and talk about it. Also, let me know if you have any questions or don't understand something. Do you have any questions before we start?
No, I think that's pretty straightforward.
Fair enough. Um, the event you said was the worst of your life, of course, was witnessing the murder of your father, which, I mean, like I said before, I can only imagine how horrible that must have been. So, um, you know, the first part of this is we're going to kind of briefly rediscuss that, and kind of keep that in mind as we continue our discussion. So, would you care to kind of explained exactly what it was that happened in that event, and as much or as little detail as you really want to give at this point.
Okay. Um, my mom had been passed away for a little while. My dad was dating this lady, and he tricked me into thinking we were just gonna go to the house and just spend some quality time there. And then his new girlfriend and her son showed up, and I wasn't exactly thrilled about that. Um, it was like, okay, just a weekend, got to get through it. Um, but then some crazy Nazi people showed up, and apparently, they were looking for a key, and yeah, so they were torturing and killing us to try and find it and get what they wanted. And
Mhm.
um, my dad was like, "No, we're not gonna give them what they want." He didn't even know where this key was. Um, he just was on principle, like not gonna do it. Um, so I was hiding, trying to get away, and they made a very public scene to show me that they were gonna kill him, and then they shot him, and I had a very clear view of that. Yeah.
And I remember you telling me in more detail through that assessment we did previously how it did happen directly in front of your face. And I apologize for making you have to re go through that, explaining it just now, but I'm gonna move forward with some questions, and you just, like I said, answer as honestly as you can um,
Yeah.
about that situation. Since the passing of your father, has there been a time when it was causing you more problems than it has over the past month? When was this causing you the most problems, would you say?
Mm, I mean, obviously, I think I struggled a lot the first few months afterwards.
Right.
Um, because I, not only did he die, but then his girlfriend, that didn't go well. And I had to be put in foster care. And so I was struggling with the loss of both my parents, watching his be really traumatic, and then having to adjust to these new families and this new environment, and them trying to have me see these therapists and the expectations they had for me. Um, so I think that would be the most that I had struggled, was definitely those first few months trying to figure out like how to get through all of that and what my new role was and what people expected of me. Since then, I think I've done pretty well, adjusting to life and everything. And when I do new experiences like starting this job, I think I adjust really well.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you being so honest with me on that. I'm gonna keep rolling with my questions. So for the rest of the interview, I want you to keep um, this event in mind, the passing of your father.
Hmm.
As I ask you about different problems, it may have caused you may have had some of these problems before, but for this interview, we're going to focus just on the worst month, which, from what I gather from what you're saying, has been, when your father was murdered.
Hmm.
Um, so for each problem, I'll ask you, had it at all? And if so, how often and how much it bothered you?
Okay.
So in in the event, the worst month, have you had any, or did you have any rather, unwanted memories of the event while you were awake? So not counting dreams.
Uh, yeah, yeah, I would say that was a pretty frequent that first month.
How often would you say that was occurring, that you were seeming to relive the situation?
Um, Probably near every day. Like it just kind of kept coming back to me, and especially with all these other people around, and it was like a reminder of why.
Right, right. So would you say that those unwanted memories were something you were thinking about on purpose? Were you reliving on purpose, or you think it was just the um flashbacks, I guess you would say?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't on purpose. It just those memories and stuff just came flooding at me.
And it sounds like those were bothering you quite a bit at the time, especially. So,
Yeah, as I yeah didn't really know how to didn't know how to handle that. It was just happening periodically, made me real nervous and jumpy, and then it was like, oh hey, I'm actually here in this place that's supposed to be safe, but so was my house.
right, right. Um, so are you able to put them out of your mind and think about something else when those intrusive thoughts come up?
I can now, but when it happened, a little bit I could. Mostly I didn't have control over it.
Right. So, how often would you say you have had those memories, especially thinking back throughout that month? How often would you say that occurred?
Um,
Would it?
Probably like every day.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, um, let's see. Um, we'll kind of swap over now to dreams. Remember, we
Okay.
said before that it wasn't dreaming about it; it was actually while we were awake thinking about it. So, how
Mhm.
um, thinking about that event, how often would you say you had unpleasant or nightmares about that event?
That first month it was like every night. Um, I'd have probably like one nightmare. Usually I could fall back asleep and sleep through the night, but definitely at least one nightmare a night.
So at least one a night.
Hmm.
Um, what would you experience when you woke up? Like
Sweating.
sweating.
Um,
Okay.
Definitely uh trying to be very aware of my surroundings, figure out where I was, racing heart, um, a lot of breathing, like I don't know how to describe it, but like that.
Like you
Um,
couldn't catch your breath, maybe, or just trying to catch
yeah,
your breath. Okay.
yeah. Um, yeah, that's what I remember, at least those.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with me. Um, we will keep on rolling here. Based on that event, have there been times when you suddenly acted or felt if the event was happening again?
Um, I mean, that first month, yeah, it uh, it wasn't as frequent as like the flashbacks and stuff.
Hmm.
It'd probably be like every few days or so. Sometimes, I'd hear something and it would kind of remind me of that. Like if seeing a knife or hearing a knife or hearing something kind of cut or something that sounded like a gunshot, it would definitely take me back.
Okay. Okay. So, but you were able to distinguish between what was really happening and what was uh, in your thoughts. Is that fair to
It
say?
I did. It took me a moment, because it would just, be so surreal and overwhelming at first. And uh then I was back in there and then I would remember, no, I've done this. This isn't where I'm supposed to be right now. Um and then I'd be able to kind of pull myself out of it.
Okay. Okay. How long would you say it would take you?
Hmm, maybe like a minute or so.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. All right. Um, so thinking back on that event, have you gotten emotionally upset when something reminded you of the event?
Mm, yeah. Um and I'd say it was I mean the emotional kind of went a couple different ways. There were times where I was uh crying, obviously, because I missed my dad.
Of course.
Um and then there were times where it was like this anger. Like I just felt really angry and it was really difficult to kind of control because I would just be so mad and upset about the situation or as if I was in that situation again trying to fight for my life. So yeah, I mean it kind of fluctuated.
Okay. Um, are you able to calm yourself down when that occurs, or were you able to?
Mm, I can now, but for that first month, I mean those were a lot of um unknown emotions to me. So
Sure.
that was really difficult and really hard to get a grasp on. So yeah, that first month I did not have a grasp on my emotions. Um, yeah, I was kind of mean when I was, mad and upset and um very verbally mean to people, stomping, slamming the door. Um, when I was emotional and cried, obviously I just like would leave the room and go be myself for that.
Okay. Okay. Well, and like I said, I appreciate you having that strong of insight into the situation. So again, with that event in mind, um, have you had any physical reactions when something reminded you of the event? And I know you kind of answered that before with the stomping and door slamming and that, but can you think of any other physical?
Yeah. So when when I was having those flashbacks and feeling like I was there again, um definitely heart racing. Um there were some moments where I felt kind of really helpless and so I felt like my palms were getting sweaty. Again, the kind of feeling of like I couldn't catch my breath.
Mhm.
Um, my mind was racing. I don't know if that's physical, but that's how I felt.
Well, absolutely. And so I'll keep on rolling. I know your time is precious. So in thinking about that event, have you tried to avoid the thoughts and feelings? Or I guess I should say, did you try to avoid the thoughts and feelings regarding that?
Yes. I definitely did. I didn't want to show weakness to people. So being around like the foster families and the therapist, I definitely tried to avoid that as much as possible so that I did not, get emotional.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I tried and now I have a job that definitely makes me think about it. But I feel like I handle it a lot better now. It's not it's not as intense and overwhelming when I think about it now like it used to be.
Absolutely. So, the next question on here is how hard do you try to avoid those thoughts? Which sounds like you're, even with the new job, doing a good job of.
hmm Yeah. Well, when it happened, I tried very hard. Depending on the situation that I was in, if I was alone, I probably I wanted to avoid it, but I didn't put in as much effort. Because I was by myself. But when I was around people, I definitely put in a lot more effort to try and avoid it and think about other things. And now, it's more controlled, so I don't have to actively try as hard to avoid those things.
Okay. Okay. Well, and keeping in that same idea, you know, what what things do you try to avoid to potentially not think about the worst event?
Um, I don't like houses in the woods or
Okay.
cabins. So, a lot of people are real health conscious and want to go take hikes, and I'm like, nope, not it, not for me, not going to the woods. If I don't have to, if it's for work, I can do it, but if it's a leisure thing or a group activity or whatever, then I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not not gonna do it if I don't have to.
I understand. So we're sticking to the main streets when we're walking Diego then. So
Yeah.
that's fair. That is fair. So, all right. Well, we are going to keep on rolling here. Next part is have you had any difficulty remembering some important parts of that worst event?
Um, I don't think so. Um, I mean, it's all very much there, I think, but I also have it written down, and so I always have that if I want to remember all of it. But I don't think I have any difficulty with that.
Okay. So no difficulty in remembering then. So um
No, it's just sometimes it's just all the circumstances are really rushed. Um, but I remember all the aspects of it.
okay. um so switching gears a little bit here. We are going to look at and I apologize, like I said, I'm reading prompts verbatim from the script. So um regarding this situation, have you had any strong negative beliefs about yourself, other people, or the world? And can you give me any examples of that?
Um, well, after I ran away from foster care, there was the one lady that I lived with and she died. Um, and so for a while, I did feel like maybe it was me, that I was the problem and all the significant people in my life would pass away. Because it was, my mom died of cancer and then um my dad and this lady died from, horrible people that just showed up. And so it just felt like I was cursed for a while. But now it's not so much about me, but I do recognize that is a lot of bad and like evil in the world, and that's one of the things I appreciate about my job is that I feel like I get to handle that, and
Okay.
hopefully doing some good and preventing other people from having to go through those experiences.
Absolutely. Okay. Um, Now thinking back to when those thoughts were prevalent, what percentage of the time would you say um that you were having those self-blaming thoughts or negative thoughts about yourself?
Mm, I mean, it was probably like a couple of years.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that I had those thoughts.
So, and they've definitely lessened over the last little bit then.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Um, let's see. All right. So, in talking about pretty significant emotions, have you had any strong negative feelings such as fear, horror, anger, guilt, shame? And if so, how often, especially during that month, would you say?
Um, Definitely a lot of fear and horror the first month after my dad died. Um, as far as I was aware, all of those guys, they're dead and they couldn't come after me again, but it was so random that it was like, what is it going to happen again? Who's it going to be this time? Is it just a one-off situation? Um, and then obviously the memories and the flashbacks, and those were horrible. Um, a lot of anger because why would you do this? Why would you ruin my life? And this is where I'm at now. Nobody understands me. Nobody's been through what I've been through. Um, and then, you know, uh, yeah. So that was how I felt that first month.
Absolutely. Okay. Um, what about activities that you used to enjoy? How would you say that's affected your previous hobbies? You know, would you say you were less interested or
Yeah, I think I was less interested in that, and then I was more interested in like survival techniques, trying to learn about that. It wasn't something I wanted to do. It was something I felt like I had to do. Um, so I didn't get to engage in and do the stuff that I really liked.
gotcha. Okay.
And it just, those things all felt kind of like pointless and a waste of time. And it was, um, doing something like that was just gonna make me unprepared and vulnerable.
I understand. I understand. Um, so that actually answers the next question about how you were feeling distant and cut off from others, especially right after the passing of your father.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Um, let's see. In regards to the event, have there been times when you had difficulty experiencing positive feelings like love and happiness?
Yeah. Um, it was there would be brief moments where I felt like I was safe and appreciative for somebody being there and being able to take care of me. They didn't have an obligation to do so. Um, but overall, it was definitely really difficult to feel any kind of happiness or love or attachment to these people because, it was like I wouldn't be here if something horrible hadn't happened. And, essentially these people are strangers that are being thrust up on my life. Um, and I know they tried to do some nice things and tried to figure out the things that I liked and um, tried to make me feel special, but yeah, I just didn't feel anything for that.
Understand. Understand. Um, keeping on rolling here. Have there been times when you felt especially irritable or angry and showed it in your behavior?
Yeah, like I said, definitely verbally. I also, stomped and slammed doors and just aggressive and definitely mad. A lot of mad.
Um, have there been times when you were taking more risks or doing things that might have caused you harm? And can you give me an example?
I think that first month I did fine, but then I started AWOLing, and yes, that was definitely risky. And then, getting a job when I'm uh working at the diner and may or may not have contemplated how to kill some people, but probably deserved it. Um, but I would say that's probably about it.
Okay. Okay. So have you been especially alert or watchful even when there was no specific threat or danger?
Always. That's never gone away.
Okay. And I know that's part of your new job as well is being vigilant. So,
Hmm.
um, let's see. Um, have you had any problems with concentration here recently?
Recently, no.
Recently, no. What about during that month?
Yeah. Um, they want you to feel normal and send you back to school as if you didn't just go through the most traumatic thing ever.
Right.
And um, so I was having to go to a different school and trying to learn while also processing what happened and not feeling safe and feeling angry. So yeah, I had a lot of difficulty concentrating and taking tests and sometimes just being at the houses and they would talk to me and tell me to do something and it just I didn't process any of that.
Right. So, okay. Um, So we've talked about quite a bit during this assessment. And like I said, this is a pretty long one. So, but we are almost to the wrap up point for today's session. I wanted to talk to you about how long we've been having some of the symptoms. Um, when did you first start having the symptoms we've talked about, like the struggles with concentration, the flashbacks, the um, you know, um, sleep struggles. Like,
Mm, I mean, the concentration was pretty frequent. I guess if I had to put like a percentage on it, maybe like 70%.
okay,
Um,
okay,
Now it's like I don't know, I feel like it's zero. Like I feel like I can concentrate pretty well.
okay,
Um, my sleep issues, I mean, that was every night. But like I said, it was probably like one nightmare a night, and then I would be able to fall back asleep
okay.
um when I fell asleep and not having nightmares. So, I mean, what is that, like 80, 90% maybe? Um, and then I don't remember what the other question was.
No, you covered it well. So now we'll talk about more recent in the past month. Um, how often, let's go with the sleep issues, the nightmares. How frequent would you say you're having those now?
Uh, Probably 2 or 3 times a month.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess
So,
that averages out to about like once a week.
okay. So pretty significant step back, which is good progress. Let's see. Um, how would you say that the symptoms have affected your ability to work?
None.
None? Okay.
None.
Okay. Good deal. Um, let's see. We are almost to the end. I do have the one last question, and then I will do my notes for the session, and we'll discuss results during our next meetup. Um, in general, in your life, would you say that how would you say that the symptoms we've discussed have affected you?
Uh, I mean, I definitely had difficulty with forming relationships, maintaining relationships with people.
Mhm,
Um, Even just on like a surface friendship kind of level. Um, Sleep wise, I mean, I feel like I'm getting enough sleep. I'm rested.
mhm,
Um, Sometimes I sleep in spurts, which I've read is actually pretty good for you. Um, like 4 hour increments and stuff. Um, so that's fine. I've always been able to maintain some type of job and independence and take care of myself. Um, Obviously, like I don't use alcohol and drugs, so I'm never impaired. I'm always able to, have a clear thought and maintain my surroundings, and I stay pretty vigilant and things like that.
mhm. I remember we were pretty adamant about the no substance, no alcohol, no any of that, which I appreciate. So okay, well, that actually wraps up the questions I have for you. Like I said, I will do my write up notes from the notes that I've taken, and we will take a look at your scores. And just at a glance, it does appear that we still do meet criteria for post traumatic stress disorder, but we were kind of aware of that from the
Yeah.
beginning. So your work is willing to work with you, and so am I. So I will see you next session, and we'll kind of review the scores and the results, and we'll go from there.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, Becky. I appreciate you meeting with me today.